Welcome to the Transportation Cafe. This is a quarterly show given by the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission projects and programs. I wanted to introduce myself. I'll be your host tonight. My name is Randy Johnson. I am a representative from Scotts Valley that serves on a 12-person board for the Regional Transportation Commission. That board is comprised of members from the Santa Cruz County, all those districts, the cities, and also there's representation from the Transit Authority. I want to introduce my guests tonight. First, Ginger Dykar, who's a program manager for Freeway Service Program, also call boxes and the Safe on 17 program. And I wanted to also introduce Deb Larson. She is CalTrans District 5 Safety Manager, Branch Manager, Chief, and Program Manager for Highway Safety Improvement Program. And a little bit about what the Regional Transportation Commission does. It's involved in the funding, kind of as a clearinghouse for funds that come in to the county. It also does planning. It's concerned with the policy, everything to do with transportation in our county. And some of the things that it does, and kind of the focus of our program tonight is, of course, going to be on safety. And those safety programs include freeway service patrol and the call box system in Santa Cruz County. So I guess maybe my first question is to talk a little bit about these programs and how the RTC facilitates some of those programs. Ginger?
Sure. The Freeway Service Patrol is an excellent example of a program that helps to improve safety on our highways. The Regional Transportation Commission oversees this program in partnership with CalTrans and the California Highway Patrol, and it's funded jointly by the Regional Transportation Commission and CalTrans. If a motorist is stranded on the highway, the Freeway Service Patrol will assist this motorist free of charge. They may fix a flat tire, they may provide a gallon of gas if it's needed. If the car is having mechanical problems, they will tow the vehicle off of the highway so that they can get some help. The Freeway Service Patrol also will remove debris that's on the highway. And they work very closely with the California Highway Patrol in order to remove vehicles off of the highway after a collision. The Freeway Service Patrol is operating on 2 locations in Santa Cruz County. There's about a 9-mile stretch along Highway 17 between Mount Herman Road and Summit Road, and there's about an 8-mile stretch on Highway 1 between Highway 9 and State Park Drive and Aptos. And these tow operators, they're continually roving the highway during commute periods, high traffic periods, in order to look for motorists who need assistance. And they're kept pretty busy. They assist about 2,000 motorists per year, roughly about 1,000 assists per beat. And when a motorist is stranded on the highway, well, the reason the Regional Transportation Commission provides this service is because it helps to reduce congestion on our highways. So when a motorist is stranded on the highway, vehicles can get backed up behind it, causing congestion and delay. And if the Freeway Service Patrol is out there, then they can help to get vehicles off of the highway, either if they're just disabled vehicles or if this is after a collision, as quickly as possible in order to reduce the amount of congestion, and also to keep the possibility of secondary collisions to occur, which also improves safety. We get great feedback from motorists who get service from the Freeway Service Patrol. As you can imagine, if you're stranded on the highway and a tow truck pulls up behind you, offering you some free service, people really appreciate this service that we offer. Also, the Regional Transportation Commission administers the call box program in Santa Cruz County, and the call boxes are those phones that are housed in those yellow boxes on the side of the highway. But we're going to talk more about the call box program and how call box work at the end of the show. The Regional Transportation Commission works really closely with CalTrans and the California Highway Patrol on the Safe on 17 task force. And in order to reduce the number of collisions on the Highway 17 corridor, which is between the cities of Santa Cruz and the city of Los Gatos. And a big part of what the Safe on 17 task force does is bring representatives from many different agencies together for meetings 2 times per year in order to share their information and perspective on how to keep Highway 17 safe.
Splitting 2 counties does make it a little bit more complicated, and complicates things quite a bit, doesn't it?
Right, because there's people from our agency, our transportation planning partner in the Bay Area, Metropolitan Transportation Commission. There's the California Highway Patrol offices, both Santa Clara and Santa Cruz County side. And there's CalTrans, there's 2 districts that cover the Highway 17 safety corridor, as well as a couple transit agencies, legislators, and media that all come together for these meetings to share their perspective on how to keep Highway 17 safe. And the coordinated efforts of this group have brought about a 40% decline in the injuries and fatalities over the course of this program, which is a stunning achievement.
It's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of people, I guess, feel the presence of, are conflicted a little bit about the presence of a CHP officer. At the same time, nobody wants to pay a $400 ticket, but the results kind of speak for themselves, don't they?
They do, that's 3 of the strategies that the Safe on 17 Task Force have implemented, can sometimes be referred to as 3 E's, the engineering, the education, and the enforcement. And it's those strategies that have really brought together the amount of reduction in the collisions on 17. And the Safe on 17 Task Force is just, in my mind, it's just such a great example of people coming from various different disciplines to try to facilitate some kind of change. And the Regional Transportation Commission has really played a large role in helping keep this task force active in order to keep the number of collisions down on Highway 17.
And how the public responds to those, I guess, in some ways, the drivers are the unsung heroes because they're the ones that are following the rules of safety that contribute to these results. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about CalTrans' role in the safety and the highway safety in Santa Cruz County. And Deb Larson's here from CalTrans, so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Of course, and with a special focus on Highway 17. As Ginger mentioned, there are the 3 E's, the education, the enforcement, and the engineering. And it's those engineering aspects where CalTrans takes the lead role. CalTrans is the owner and operator of the state highway system, much like local agencies. The cities and counties are the owner-operator of the local roadway system. Through the years, design standards have changed. We can think about how vehicles have changed from the 1920s to the 1950s to today. Roadway standards, design standards, traffic standards have also changed. It's not economically feasible to upgrade all roads to the current standards, so we really have to focus on the certain roadway features where it's cost effective to make improvements. CalTrans has the Highway Safety Improvement Program that helps us identify and prioritize locations where improvements could be made that will be the greatest benefit to the highway user. The Highway Safety Improvement Program, as I indicated, identifies locations where the districts are required to investigate. Out of those investigations, the engineer may recommend a minor improvement. Maybe brush is to be trimmed to improve sight distance around a curve or a sign relocated. Or out of that investigation might be a proposed improvement project. The Safety Improvement Program projects are based on either actual collision history, or we can also initiate a project to reduce the severity of run-off-the-road collisions. Typical safety program projects might be a median barrier, guardrail, drainage improvement to address wet weather collisions, rumble strips, and other type of safety features.
Before the barriers went in, even going back to when I think I had a learner's permit, and when I got my driver's license, having to go across highway from Santa Clara County to Santa Cruz on Highway 17 without the barriers. Can you imagine how many young drivers or impaired drivers and all those people that had to kind of traverse those terrible curves from Laurel to Big Mooney to you name it? It's surprising that there weren't even more accidents that happened on those places. So the barriers have really played an important role in that. Is that true?
Definitely, definitely. Now it's also the drivers who have an important role in that. You know, drivers were taking more caution at the time, being more aware of their surroundings, and that's an important part of reducing collisions on Highway 17 or any highway.
So what are so aside from what you just mentioned, are there other recent safety improvements to Highway 17 that you'd like to talk about?
Yes. I'd also like to mention when the task force first kicked off, CalTrans took a three-phase approach. We looked at what immediate improvements we could put on the highway, and we also looked at short-term and long-term, more complex projects. Some of the immediate improvements that drivers may have recognized if they were regular drivers on Highway 17 was an increase in curve warning signage, trying to give those messages to the driver, trying to give them additional information. Some of the short-term projects that went in would have been some minor drainage projects, guardrail projects, flashing beacons on select warning signs, or the dynamic curve warning sign, southbound 17, just south of the summit, and right before that first curve. Some of the more major, more complex projects were the Laurel Curve shoulder widening project that required the construction of a viaduct. The Glenwood wet weather improvements, where we increased the drainage inlets. We increased the width of the shoulder so the water could get off of the travelway, so our maintenance forces can access those drainage inlets. Vine Hill wet weather improvements. And right now under construction are the variety of guardrail projects. We're installing some new guardrail, we're installing new guardrail in treatments and upgrading existing guardrail systems.
So it's really impressive that CalTrans has been so responsive to some of the safety concerns that people have there. I'm sure you get lots of requests for you know, a variety of different improvements that people would like to see, but at the same time, you do have to prioritize those things because there's a limited amount of funds.
That's exactly correct.
Ginger, talk a little bit about the various components on the Safe on 17 campaign that the Regional Transportation Commission places a lot of importance on.
Well, the Safe on 17 task force was initiated by the California Highway Patrol in 1999, but it still continues today in large part because of the funding that's available, provided for the extra enforcement of the California Highway Patrol by the Regional Transportation Commission and our partner transportation planning agency, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. So RTC facilitates the meetings, as I discussed earlier, twice a year to bring all these representatives together. And we also put out an annual report that summarizes the results of the task force for that year. And there are three main strategies that are being used. The extra enforcement strategies, which increases the number of the California Highway Patrol officers that are patrolling Highway 17. And as you can imagine, when the officers are out there on the highway, when people see them, they tend to slow down and drive a lot safer in order to try to avoid traffic citations. And then there's all the engineering work that Deb was just discussing, that CalTrans is involved in, which also increases improves the safety on Highway 17. And public education also plays a role in increasing the driver's awareness about safe driving practices. So when they're out on the highway, they tend to think about how fast they're going. And that also tends to help reduce collisions. Some of the public education programs, examples of that are the Safe on 17 campaign that the Safe on 17 campaign called Take It Slow on 17, which has put up signs along the highway. It also has developed posters and brochures that are given out. Here's one developed by the California Highway Patrol, and it lists a number of safe driving practices, such as slow down, don't drive faster than the speed limit, slow down even more during bad weather, brake before you're in a curve. And they provide these brochures at new driver education programs so that when people just start getting out there on the highways, they have some education ahead of time to realize what are the best safe driving practices. And lately I've been realizing when I've been driving with my 8-year-old daughter, she's been reading the speed limit signs on the side of the highway or the side of the road, and she's been asking me, are you driving within the speed limit? And I realize I have my own personalized enforcement of the traffic rules within my very own car. And if everyone had an 8-year-old asking over their shoulder, are you driving the speed limit? Are you driving the speed limit? I think we may see some changes on the highway. So when people see the flashing lights on the signs, on the speed limit signs, or the sign that tells you what your speed is out there on the highway, think of that as somebody looking over your shoulder asking you, are you driving the speed limit?
Yeah, well, think of your 8-year-old daughter. And I take it she hasn't had to ask you to put down that cell phone either. But it's nice that you can quantify the safety results. Obviously, if you've seen the type of reductions in the past years due to the amount of CHP officers on the road, it must be very gratifying for really not only for us as an agency, the RTC, but the officers who save lives, and of course the people whose lives are saved. It's an important thing. So what role does speeding play in safety on Highway 17 and other places within the county? Is speeding the biggest problem out there?
Well, when drivers violate the traffic rules and practice unsafe driving practices such as speeding, also tailgating, changing lanes quickly, and more commonly now when they're distracting themselves with their cell phone and mobile devices, it greatly increases the chance for a collision to occur. And all that it takes is one collision to back up a highway during commute hours and causes a lot of frustration for the commuters that are out there on the highway. It takes a lot longer for people to get to where they're trying to go to. And if one collision on the highway can cause much more delay than increased numbers of vehicles on the highway. And driving within the speed limit not only keeps you and people safer, but it also decreases congestion. And yes, speeding is consistently found in California every year to be the main reason for the injuries and fatalities that happen on our highways. So if we all took more responsibility to make the roadways safer by driving the posted speed limit and distracting ourselves less, going even slower during the wet weather conditions, then we would likely see less collisions, less injuries and fatalities, and less congestion on our roadways.
Yeah, and I think it's especially true on a place like Highway 17, where everything that you just mentioned is magnified, because actually going slower and everybody kind of just doing their part in order to slow down will get you there. And the absence of collisions is such an important component in terms of traffic flow and all those things associated with it. Let's talk a little bit about how the traffic operations system components work on the highway systems, Deb. You know, those changeable message signs have been played an important role for drivers as they approach them and have various messages that they can read.
Right, and changeable message systems are just one of the traffic control devices we see on our highway. We may see ramp meters, closed circuit TVs, extinguishable or fixed message signs, as well as the changeable message signs. Those, as well as radio traffic bulletins, the CalTrans department website on current road conditions, those all can bring information to the motorists so they can make informed decisions. If they see that there's going to be a road closed up ahead, a lane closure, a collision up ahead, they may make a decision to delay their departure time or to use an alternate route. Or where the technology is available, the changeable message signs may give them the time to their destination. So all of those items help the drivers choose the right strategies to improve traffic operations, reduce delay, and also improves the safety.
Well, thank you. Listen, I really want to thank you, our guests, Deb Larsons from CalTrans, Ginger Dykar from the Regional Transportation Commission, and I also would like to thank the viewers for tuning in to the Transportation Cafe. It's a good chance for us to tell a little bit more about what the Regional Transportation Commission does in our county. I would also like anybody who's interested, you can send your comments or concerns or questions or suggestions for future Transportation Cafe topics to the RTC through emails. And those emails, that email website is www.SCCRTC.org. And with that, I would like invite you to tune in to the next Transportation Cafe when that edition comes in the next quarter. Until then, thank you and good night.
All of you have seen the call boxes on the highways throughout Santa Cruz County and elsewhere, but if you've never used one, you may not know how they work. Here's a quick Call Box 101. Call boxes are the phones that are housed in the yellow boxes on the side of the highway that can be used to call for assistance 24/7 if your vehicle is broken down. Phones connect you to a live operator who can call the California Highway Patrol, emergency services, tow service, or family or friends who can help you. There are 120 call boxes on our local highways, and in some areas they're about a half to 1 mile apart. Some people wonder if cell phones are making call boxes obsolete. But the number of calls from the call boxes has decreased since cell phones have proliferated, but they are still being used. There were an average of 80 calls or more per month in 2010. Some people don't have cell phones, and cellular coverage is not available in some places. Call boxes are the reliable method for getting assistance on the highway when you really need it. The Regional Transportation Commission manages the call box system in Santa Cruz County, and the funding for the call box system is from the $1 fee on your vehicle registration from the Department of Motor Vehicles. How does it work? Just open up the box, pick up the handset, and if you can hear, then you push the green button on the left. The operator will get on the phone to respond and speak clearly. For hearing impaired, press the red button on the right. Answer the questions on the screen and wait for the operator to write a message back on the screen. When you're finished, make sure you hang up the handset and close the door. There's your Call Box 101. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. The RTC's phone number and website are at the bottom of the screen.
The California Highway Patrol, in an ongoing effort to reduce roadway deaths, property damage, and increase safety on Highway 17, has collaborated with its partners, the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission and CalTrans, to make Highway 17 a safer place to drive. This has been done through engineering, education, and enforcement. The rest depends on you. CalTrans works with the Regional Transportation Commission to determine and fix problem areas. For the safety of their workers, the CHP reminds you to reduce your speed whenever you see a cone pattern or flares. Education, as it relates to the patrol officer, may be seen in the form of a verbal warning on a traffic stop. Education is also conducted in a classroom setting with our Start Smart classes for teen drivers, through public service announcements, media releases, and through the use of the public address or Amber Alert signs. Statistically, accidents including fatal traffic collisions decrease in an area with heightened law enforcement. This means more officers on the road and more citations for violations which cause and contribute to traffic collisions. Driving under the influence on Highway 17 is a serious offense and will result in hefty fines, arrest, and other penalties. The next time you drive on Highway 17, please keep the following in mind. For most of Highway 17 through the mountains, the speed limit is 50 miles per hour. Maintain a safe following distance. Signal when changing lanes. Do not use your cell phone or text while driving. If you must make or answer a phone call and are over the age of 18, please use a hands-free device. However, if you observe reckless or possible DUI drivers, help us protect the public by safely calling 911 to report the vehicle. Always wear your seatbelt and always reduce your speed in wet weather. Help the California Highway Patrol and its partners, the Regional Transportation Commission and CalTrans, make Highway 17 a safe place to travel. I'm Officer Shore with the California Highway Patrol. Please drive safely.
When you were out today, did you see a sidewalk damaged by tree roots? Have you stopped walking in your neighborhood because overgrown bushes or a lack of sidewalk forces you out into a busy street? Hello, I'm Veronica Elzie, reminding you that unsafe conditions like these can be fixed if you'll just report them. Because when you do, someone will follow up, inspect the area, and contact the property owner, describing the hazard, needed repairs, and any available resources. To report a problem, or even make a suggestion, you can contact your local Public Works Department. If you're not sure who to call, you can fill out the hazard report form on the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission's website. So get involved. Take this important step towards creating a truly pedestrian-friendly environment. For more information, contact the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission and check out the Pedestrian Safety Work Group's Sidewalk Maintenance Report.
Hello, I'm George Dondero, Executive Director of the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. On our last edition of Transportation Cafe program, we talked about the acquisition of the 32-mile Santa Cruz branch line between Watsonville and Davenport. Today, we'd like to give you some new information about that project and things that have transpired since that last show. And by the way, if you missed that show, you can find links to it on the Community TV or the RTC website. So we're happy to tell you that escrow is expected to close this summer, and the exact date is dependent on when we get approval from the Surface Transportation Board in Washington. After that, a string of events to commemorate this community ownership of this great transportation corridor will be held on Saturday, September 10th, so mark your calendars. The train will provide a backdrop for the community events in Watsonville, Aptos, Capitola, Live Oak, and Santa Cruz. Each event will be led by community leaders having its own flavor and will include information about past, present, and future potential transportation uses of the corridor. The train will not carry passengers between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. However, we are working on the possibility of offering free train rides from the west side of Santa Cruz up to the Wilder Ranch, about 2.5 miles. So all of us at the RTC are looking forward to celebrating this important community asset and acknowledging the many individuals and groups who together have helped to bring this corridor into public ownership. And for the community to celebrate with us the transportation corridor's potential.